She said it quietly, close enough that her breath grazed the side of my neck. Don't move. It wasn't a command. More like a whisper she hadn't meant to let slip. The room smelled faintly of eucalyptus and sweat, that late evening mix that hangs after the last client leaves. The mirrors were fogged in patches. Outside, rain tapped against the glass. I was supposed to be focusing on form, alignment, breath. Instead, all I could think about was how her hand rested just above my shoulder blade, steadying me, her fingers spreading slightly as if she were feeling something she shouldn't. Her name was Clara, 45, my trainer for the past 3 months. If you asked anyone else at the gym, they'd call her composed, the kind of woman who made quiet seem like a strength. But up close, that calm had a pulse. You could hear it in the way she inhaled before she spoke. See it in the pause she took before touching a client's arm. Like every move meant something. I'd never been this aware of someone before. Relax here, she said, tracing a slow line along my back with 2 fingers. You're holding too much tension. Her touch was light, but it carried through me like a current. My chest lifted a little, involuntary. She noticed. I could tell because she hesitated, just for a second, then shifted her hand away and stepped around to face me. You're trying too hard again, she said. Her tone was professional, but the corner of her mouth gave her away. Maybe I just don't want to get it wrong. Her eyes met mine. They were calm but tired, the kind of tired that doesn't come from lack of sleep. You won't, she said softly. You just overthink. There was a pause then, a space that shouldn't have lasted as long as it did. She reached for my wrist, guiding it into position. Her skin was cooler than mine, but the pressure was firm. Sure. When she let go, I could still feel the imprint of her fingers. I wanted to say something, anything, but words felt too clumsy for that moment. Instead, I watched her step back, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, her eyes flicking briefly toward the clock before coming back to me. Again, she said. Her voice was lower now. I adjusted my stance, pretending to follow instruction, though my pulse had its own rhythm. As I moved, she circled behind me. I could feel her presence before she touched me. The faint shift of air, the warmth of her breath when she spoke. That's it, she murmured. Keep breathing. It wasn't about form anymore. It was about control, hers, mine, the fragile line between them. Every correction, every brush of her hand felt like an unfinished thought. When I straightened up, she was still close. Too close. Her hand hovered at my side, then dropped away quickly. You're getting better, she said. Thanks to you. She gave a half smile, quick, almost defensive, and turned toward the front desk, grabbing her water bottle. Don't give me credit yet, she said. You've still got a lot to learn. Her voice sounded steadier than her hands looked. I bent to tie my shoe just to have something to do, to not stare at the space where she'd been standing. When I looked up again, she was watching me in the mirror, just for a heartbeat, before pretending she wasn't. Then, from the hallway, a door opened. A man's voice called her name. She froze, only for a second, then turned, her expression shifting back into something neutral. Session's over, she said quietly, without looking at me. But her reflection in the mirror lingered, eyes locked on mine, as if neither of us had heard the door at all. The next evening, the rain was gone, but the air still carried that damp chill that made the mirrors blur at the edges. Clara was already there when I arrived, hair tied up this time, hoodie half-zipped, focused on re-racking weights like the world depended on symmetry. She looked different when she thought no one was watching, less composed. Her shoulders had a small slump to them, a weariness she usually hid. Back again, she said without turning around. Her tone was light, but her reflection in the mirror gave her away. She'd been expecting me. Couldn't skip after all that progress, I said. That made her smile, faint and quick. Flattery's not part of the warm-up. She said it like a joke, but her voice softened at the end, almost like she didn't want it to sound sharp. We started slow, the usual stretches, the same corrections, but the space between us felt narrower. Every movement, every adjustment carried memory. Breathe in, she said, stepping closer. Her hand grazed my ribs, a light, guiding touch. And out. Don't lock your shoulders. Her fingers lingered a second too long. I felt her hesitation, the tiny intake of breath before she let go. I wanted to speak, to ease the silence, but I couldn't find the right tone. Everything felt either too casual or too honest. Rough day, I asked finally. She paused, eyes still on my stance. Always, she said, then smiled faintly. That's what happens when you're the one who's supposed to keep everyone else balanced. Her voice cracked a little on supposed to. I didn't press. She didn't offer more. But something in her expression, that flicker between strength and exhaustion, stuck with me. Later, while showing me a stretch, she knelt beside me. Our hands brushed. She didn't move hers right away. Her ring finger was bare. I noticed that for the first time. Been training long? I asked, though I already knew. Since before you were old enough to be here, she said, half smiling. Back when I thought this job was temporary. What stopped you? She tilted her head. Life, people, timing. Then quieter. You'll see. There it was, that wall she built mid-sentence, sturdy and practiced. Still, when she stood to demonstrate the next move, she stepped closer than she needed to. Close enough that her knee brushed mine. Close enough that the faint citrus scent of her lotion replaced the air. I held my breath. She caught it. Relax, she said softly. You're always so tense. You make it hard to focus. Her laugh was quick, genuine, and gone just as fast. She shook her head, glancing toward the door as if to remind herself where we were. Careful, she said. Someone might take that the wrong way. Would they be wrong? That silenced her. For a moment we both just stood there, the hum of the air conditioner the only sound. Then she reached out, almost unconsciously, and adjusted my wrist. Her thumb pressed lightly into my pulse. She didn't move it. Neither did I. Good, she whispered finally, barely audible. That's better. Her hand stayed there half a second too long. A half second that said everything neither of us could. Be why the third week, the air between us had changed. She tried to act the same crisp tone, same easy rhythm, but I could tell she was working harder at it. The pauses were longer, her instructions shorter. Every correction carried hesitation, like she was editing herself in real time. Step forward, Clara said, voice steady. No, not that far. Her hands hovered, not touching, just close enough that I could feel the warmth. I exhaled. You're afraid to touch me now. Her eyes met mine. You're imagining things. Am I? She said nothing, just circled me once, checking form or pretending to. I caught her reflection in the mirror. Her lips parted slightly, the smallest tremor in her jaw. When she finally stopped behind me, her hand brushed my arm. Deliberate this time, maybe just to prove she could still do it. Don't move, she said again, but softer. The same words as before. They hit differently now. I didn't move. She adjusted my shoulders, slow and careful, fingertips grazing bare skin. My pulse betrayed me. She noticed. I saw her throat tighten, a flicker of something raw behind her composure. Clara. A loud buzz broke the moment. Her phone somewhere near the weights. She stepped back fast, like she'd been burned. Hold that stretch, she said quickly, and walked to grab it. I turned, watching her posture shift into something rehearsed. One hand on her hip, the other pressing the phone to her ear. Hey, she said lightly. Yeah, still at work. No, it's fine. Just one more client. Her tone flattened on the last word. Client. She hung up, slid the phone into her bag, and turned toward me. Sorry, she said, forcing a small smile. Distractions. I nodded, though the word client echoed too loud in my head. Everything okay? I asked. She hesitated. Just my daughter checking in. That stopped me for a second. I didn't know she had a daughter. She caught my expression, then shrugged like she regretted saying it. She's 23, she added. Doesn't like when I work late. I swallowed. The number hung between us, sharp as glass. Guess she worries, I said. She shouldn't have to. Her tone shifted again. Quiet. Heavy. Then, to change it, she moved closer, brushing past me to adjust the bench. "Let's finish," she said. "We're wasting time." But she didn't step back after. We stood inches apart. Her sleeve brushed mine. "You shouldn't look at me like that," she said softly. "Then stop standing so close." That made her exhale, half laugh, half warning. "Don't," she whispered. But neither of us moved. The world outside the mirrors fell away. No sound, no movement. Just two people pretending they hadn't already crossed some invisible line. I leaned in before I realized it. She didn't pull away. Not right away. Then the door creaked open. Another trainer's voice drifted in. "Clara? You locking up soon?" She froze, inches from me, eyes wide. "Yeah," she called back, voice tight. 2 minutes. When the door closed again, she let out a shaky breath and stepped back, palms pressed to her thighs. "This can't happen," she said, barely above a whisper. But her eyes stayed locked on mine, and for the first time she didn't look away. The gym was nearly dark, the lights dimmed to half for closing. The hum of the vending machine was the only sound left. I shouldn't have been there. Last session had ended badly, words half-spoken, the silence after too long. But she'd texted, "If you still want to train, come now." Quietly. No emojis. No explanation. Just that. When I walked in, she was leaning against the counter. Hair loose for once. No jacket. Just a gray tank and a tired look that didn't match her voice when she said, "You came. Didn't think you'd want to see me," I said. She smiled, just enough to make it worse. "I don't. But here you are." The air was heavy, not hot, but thick, like everything unsaid had weight. "I shouldn't have said what I did," I started. "No," she interrupted softly. "You should have. I just shouldn't have listened." She walked past me to the mat, barefoot this time. "Stretch first," she said, as if pretending it was still just work could make it true. I followed. We didn't speak. Every sound, fabric shifting, breath, skin against rubber, was too loud. She knelt beside me to adjust my arm. Her hand brushed mine. We both paused. "Your pulse is fast," she murmured. "Maybe you're standing too close." She looked at me then, really looked, and something cracked behind her calm. "You think I don't know what this is doing to me?" she said. Her voice wasn't steady anymore. "I think you're trying not to show it." That did it. She let out a short, bitter laugh. "You're young. You think everything dangerous is worth touching. And you don't." She didn't answer. Instead, she reached forward, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead, slow, almost cautious. Then left her hand there a second too long. Her thumb traced the edge of my jaw before she seemed to catch herself. "I can't," she whispered. "Can't what?" "Pretend this is nothing." The silence that followed felt alive, the kind that hums just before a storm. I stepped closer. "Then stop pretending." Her eyes darted to the door, then back to me. "You don't understand. People talk. My daughter. I'm not asking for a secret." Her breath hitched. "Then what are you asking for?" I didn't answer. I just reached for her hand. Slow, deliberate, until her fingers rested against mine. She didn't pull away. The world shrank to that single touch. Her skin warm, her breath shallow. "You're making a mistake," she said, but her voice had no conviction left. "Maybe," I said, "but so are you, standing this close." Her lips parted. She took a half step forward, until the space between us was just breath. Her hand rose to my chest, then stopped, trembling slightly. "Say something," she whispered. I did, but not loud enough for her to catch it. She leaned in, almost touching, eyes searching mine. For a second, she looked scared. Not of me, but of herself. Then a sound. The click of the front door. A voice calling, distant. "Clara? You still here?" Her eyes widened. She stepped back like she'd been pulled by a string, hand covering her mouth, the spell broken. "Go," she said quickly. "Now. Clara, please." Her voice cracked on the word. I hesitated, then turned toward the exit, heart hammering. When I looked back, she was still standing there in the half-dark, breathing hard, her hand still pressed against the spot where mine had been. And I knew, whatever line we'd almost crossed, it wasn't gone. Just waiting. 3 days passed before I saw her again. No texts. No explanation. Just silence. When I finally walked into the gym, Clara was already there. Facing the mirror, tightening her ponytail like nothing had happened. But the moment she saw me in the reflection, she froze. Her hands stilled midair. "You shouldn't be here," she said without turning. "I booked the slot," I said quietly. She sighed, low and tired. "Of course you did." I wanted to joke, to break the tension, but her tone didn't leave room for it. The space between us felt colder this time. Still, she motioned toward the mat. "Let's just work." I stepped closer, waiting for her usual correction. The guiding touch, the small hum of approval, but she didn't come near me. Not once. "Are we pretending again?" I asked. "Yes," she said flatly. Then softer, "It's safer." Something in her voice cracked. Not loud, but enough for me to notice. I stopped moving. "Safer for who?" She turned then, eyes sharp. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Make me explain something you already know." Her voice rose just enough to echo. Startled her. She looked toward the office door, as if worried someone might have heard. "Clara?" I took a step forward, but she flinched. Not away, exactly, just enough that I felt the pull of distance. Then she said quietly, "My daughter came by that night." I froze. "What?" "She was the one who came looking for me. She saw you leaving." The words landed like cold water. "She didn't say much," Clara continued, eyes unfocused. "Just asked if I was seeing someone." I told her no. But she didn't believe me. She pressed her hand to her forehead, exhaling hard. "She's not wrong to worry. I've made enough mistakes already." "Is that what you think this is?" I asked. "A mistake." She looked up at me then, really looked. "You think I don't want you?" she said, voice low, shaking slightly. "You think that's the problem?" Her confession hit like heat in the chest. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the quiet hum of the ceiling fan. "Then why lie?" I asked finally. She stepped closer, her hand brushing against my arm. Soft, almost accidental. "Because wanting something doesn't make it right." Her fingers trembled. She didn't pull away. I could feel her pulse through the touch, fast and uneven. "Clara? Don't," she whispered, but her voice faltered when I said her name again. Her hand slid away, but not before her thumb brushed the inside of my wrist. A small, unintentional promise. "You should go," she said again, but her body leaned forward as if defying her words. "I can't keep pretending you don't feel it too." Her breath caught. For a moment, she almost smiled. Then the expression broke into something else. Fear. Longing. Both at once. She looked at me, then past me. At the door, the mirror, the world outside this fragile space. "I made my choice," she whispered finally. "What choice?" "To stop before I can't." But her hand was still on my chest when she said it. Neither of us moved. The silence stretched, deep, electric, until the only thing between us was everything we weren't saying. And I knew then, whatever came next, she wouldn't be the one to walk away first. The night she finally stopped pretending, the gym was already closed. No lights this time, just the soft blue glow from the parking lot bleeding through the windows. She'd asked me to stay after. One last session, she'd said. When I walked in, she was standing near the door, arms crossed, trying to look composed. But her breathing gave her away, shallow, unsteady, like she'd been arguing with herself. "You came," she said. "You asked." She nodded, eyes fixed on the floor. "Maybe I shouldn't have." "Then why did you?" That made her look up. "Because I didn't want it to end like that." Her voice cracked a little on that. Neither of us moved. The air was heavy with the kind of silence that vibrates. Full, uncertain, waiting. I stepped closer. "You've been avoiding me." "I had to," she whispered. "Did it help?" Her laugh came out as a breath, soft and sad. "No," she turned away, running her hand through her hair. "You're too young to know what it's like to have something to lose." Maybe, I said. But I know what it's like to want something you can't stop thinking about. That made her still. When she turned back, her face had changed. Not softer, but realer. No mask, no trainer's calm. Just a woman who'd finally run out of places to hide. You don't understand what happens if we cross this line, she said. I understand what happens if we don't. Her breath caught. I could see her trying to steady it, shoulders rising, falling. But her hands betrayed her. They trembled, even as she tried to fold them behind her back. I reached for one slowly. Tell me to stop, I said. She didn't. Her eyes dropped to where our fingers met. Tentative, unsure, then lifted back to mine. I shouldn't, she whispered. But you want to. She closed her eyes. That's what scares me. For a heartbeat, we just stood there. Close enough that her breath brushed my cheek. Close enough that the warmth of her skin became its own language. Then she stepped forward. Not all the way, just enough that our foreheads almost touched. This is real, she said quietly, almost like she was reminding herself. Yeah, I said. It is. Her hand rose, trembling, to my face. She hesitated at the last second, fingertips barely grazing my jaw. I could feel her pulse through her touch, wild, uneven, human. And in that moment, I knew she was fighting the same war I was. You'll hate me for this, she whispered. No, I said. I'll remember it. That broke her. She exhaled hard, half a sob, half a laugh, and leaned her forehead against mine. For a long time, neither of us moved. The world was just breath, heartbeat, and the quiet acceptance of something we couldn't undo. Then she pulled back. Just an inch, her eyes shining with the truth we'd both been circling for weeks. This doesn't end well, she said. I know. She nodded slowly. Then at least it ends honestly. And before either of us could change our minds, she pressed her palm flat to my chest. Once firmly, then stepped away. No kiss, no promise. Just that touch burning like a mark. When she finally looked at me, it wasn't hesitation anymore. It was clarity. Whatever we were, whatever we almost became, it was real. And that, somehow, was enough. Weeks passed before I saw her again. The gym looked different in daylight. Quieter, smaller, stripped of its mystery. No shadows, no lingering ghosts of what almost happened. Just treadmills, mirrors, and the faint smell of disinfectant. I wasn't sure she'd come, but then she did, hair tied back, water bottle in hand, wearing that same gray tank I remembered. Her eyes found mine almost immediately, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. You're early, she said, voice careful. Didn't want to miss you again. That earned a small smile, the kind that didn't reach her eyes but tried to. She walked closer, stopping just far enough away that I could still feel the space between us. I thought about calling, she said. Then I didn't. I know, I said. She looked at me for a long second, then exhaled. I keep replaying that night. Every time I tell myself it shouldn't have gone that far, I end up right back there. Hearing your voice, feeling. She stopped herself, shaking her head. You make it hard to forget. I don't want to be a mistake, Clara. Her eyes softened. You're not. Something in her tone, the weight of it, loosened something tight in my chest. She started, then trailed off. You remind me what it's like to want something without thinking of what comes next. I used to live like that, before I got scared of wanting anything too much. She stepped closer until we were face to face. And you make me forget I'm supposed to be older, wiser, careful. I don't want you to forget, I said quietly. I just want you to stop pretending that being careful ever made you happier. Her lips parted like she might answer, but instead she laughed. Soft, unsteady, real. You're impossible, she said. Then she reached for my hand. Slowly, deliberately. Her fingers were warm, steady this time. She didn't let go. I don't know what happens next, she said. But I don't want to keep pretending this never existed. Then don't, I said. The silence that followed wasn't tense this time. It was full calm, like the air after rain. She stepped closer, resting her head briefly against my shoulder. "You still make me nervous," she murmured. I smiled. "Good." For the first time, she didn't pull away. Her hand tightened around mine, thumb brushing across my knuckles. A quiet gesture, grounding, honest. We didn't need more than that. No declarations, no promises. Just this, two people standing in a quiet gym, finally letting themselves breathe in the same rhythm. After a moment, she looked up at me, her expression soft but sure. "Whatever this is," she said, "I'm not running from it anymore." "Then I'll stop chasing," I said. Her laugh came easy this time. She reached up, brushed her fingers along my cheek, and pressed a brief, trembling kiss to my forehead. Tender, final, full of everything we hadn't said. It wasn't an ending. It was a beginning that didn't need to rush. The kind that felt real. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?